Well, it is the start of the 2025 high school football season, and as always, we get a chance to chat with Alamogordo Tigers head football coach A.J. Cisco each week. Coach, how are you?
I'm good, man. It's football season again. Every year I come in here, and it's been a year since we finished, and 8 months, and it's never not exciting when you get to this point after everything we've been through.
Yeah, absolutely. It's scrimmages and practices and two-a-days and it being ridiculously hot, and it's probably going to be pretty warm for Friday night's game against Deming, but that's okay. First off, let's start with the scrimmage. You guys were up in Rodoso, and looks like weather held out for it. You guys got to do your thing?
Yeah, we got a lot better weather than Carlsbad and Deming did on Friday. They got hammered with rain during it and lightning delays. Really nice and cool. Very appreciative of Coach Edison and Rudoso Schools for letting us use their facility and letting us get on that middle school turf and having a really good scrimmage against a quality program. That was in the semifinals last year in 5A in Mayfield, and everybody knows that name Mayfield and the perennial power it used to be back in the day and before Centennial came around. So that was a good scrimmage for us and figure out where we're at going into this year.
And they made it to the state semifinals last year in 5A, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So still obviously a tough program to deal with. For sure. Kind of what you expected? Anything surprise you with the scrimmage, or just kind of the normal,
if you start offensively, we performed really well, which we kind of understood we were going to be okay offensively this year. The big question mark was kind of at right tackle, and we had two sophomores rolling there, and they both held their own and did a good enough job that was encouraging for us and see how they respond against somebody else and knowing that was a big hole that we had to plug. And other than that, offensively, we moved the ball well, had success. I think we scored on 3 of our 4 drives, and the other one we stalled out with penalties, and that is us being young. Got a chance to work our tempo stuff a little bit, which we hadn't really had a chance to do because we have no field. So that was good. I was very pleased offensively with that. The biggest, I don't want to say surprise, the biggest pleasure from that scrimmage was us defensively. And especially tackling. We missed a tackle in the open field on the first play of the scrimmage with the returning starter, and it was bad. But the way we rallied the rest of the time and tackled the rest of the time and physically got after it, I was very pleased with. And really stopping the run. We gave up 2 pass plays that really killed us, 3 pass plays that really killed us, and just blown coverages and our lack of communication. And that's something that we focused on after the film. And part of that is us not knowing distances and landmarks without having an actual service to get on and all that. But no excuses. The kid blew the coverage and he understood it. And so that's something that we focused on. And other than that, we played really well. I was really pleased with how we tackled and how aggressive and how we pursued to the football.
Do you feel like that's not having your field, is that going to have a little bit of an impact going into this week, or not really? Don't know.
We don't use that as an excuse. It is different when you're out there on the grass and there's not really true landmarks to go to, and when we're teaching special teams, especially of setting landmarks where our aiming points are, that's different. And so Friday will be a wake-up call real fast when we've got hashes and numbers and yard lines and all that stuff. But that's not an excuse. If we line up and play football, we'll be okay, and our kids understand that expectation.
All right. So we go and face a Deming team, which, this has been a tough team for Alamogordo to beat in recent years, when you guys have had a chance to play. And so, that program has been one of the best in 5A in recent years. They were state semifinalists last year as well. So a lot of tough things to face for you guys in week 1, for sure.
Absolutely, man. And that's a heck of a program. Coach Perales and that staff has done a great job carrying on what Coach Simmons did beforehand of getting those kids to – and they are physical and tough. Everybody knows what you're going to get when you play Deming. And it's one of those things, they know who we are. We're going to try to turn this into a fist fight in a phone booth, and they're going to be the guys that are going to come out swinging first. That's their mentality, and that's a credit to their staff and what they do with their kids and their mental toughness and discipline. So we've got our hands full. It's a good football program that's, I want to say, in the last 3 or 4 years they've been in the semifinals. And, consistently. They can't get over the hump to beat Rosler or Artesia, but they are a perennial power in 5A.
Yeah, for sure. So for you guys offensively, is it obviously continuing with that up-tempo? I know you said it was going to be a little bit different than it had been in previous years, or is this going to be the same thing you guys want to keep?
Yeah, no, we're going to go fast.
Yeah.
That's not going to change. We've worked a lot of this year about slowing some things down in situations that of really just to benefit us against certain opponents and people that we may be mismatched against. And other than that, we're going to try to push tempo and go, and let's get us racing and going. It's going to take some time to get going back to how fast we used to be because we haven't had a true field to get going on it since May. So that's going to take some time to really start getting that tempo going. But we worked it again this week every day, and our kids have done a great job. And so that's who we're going to be offensively. And then we're going to sit there, and everybody knows who we are. We're going to run it 45 times a game and throw it 25.
And for them, there's a couple of athletes that were key for them offensively last year that graduated, so they're having to get some new guys into some spots. But similar to y'all, they want to be able to run the football, and they're definitely not somebody that's going to be passing it all over the field, but they certainly have that option. There's something
for sure. They graduated 17 seniors from last year. It was a very senior loaded class, and they're very talented. You can start with their quarterback Alfaro last year, was one of the better quarterbacks in the entire state. He ended up getting knocked out in a playoff game, and they had to move a receiver that was a sophomore to quarterback, and he's a really good athlete, throws it really well, and he's a quarterback now. They returned another receiver from last year, who's this kid's favorite target. They returned an offensive lineman that was a guard, and he is nasty. I mean, he would play for anybody. I mean, he's a good football player, and they returned their running back. And other than that, like I said, they returned those 4 starters on offense, and then they had to plug in some holes, and that's no different than anybody else every year in high school. And defensively, same thing. I think they returned 3 starters defensively. They're a team that's not going to go fast. They're going to milk every second of that game. They're going to shorten the game and limit possessions, but they're exactly like us. They're going to get in the same formations. They're going to run the same plays. They're going to line up, and we're just going to bang against each other, which is going to be fun. It's going to be a fun game.
And that'll make it obviously important for when you guys have the ball offensively. You've got to make sure you not go 3 and out, because that could be a problem for you guys as the game progresses.
Absolutely, and you just go back to last year. I mean, we had drives going twice, and we ended up turning it over inside their territory, and then it's a struggle to get the ball back because they're going to be slow, and methodical, and milk the clock, and that's who they are, and everybody knows it. They're going to wait till the play clock runs down, and they're getting 3 yards of bop, and that's all they care about. And so we definitely got to sustain drives, make sure we take care of the football. That was a big issue with us at the start of last year for the first 5, 6, 7 games. Were turnovers, and we've really hammered that home this summer and this fall camp, as you would say, going into this, of really trying to take care of the football going into this so we don't shoot ourselves in the foot.
Yeah, turnovers in certainly key moments, too. It just seemed like, unfortunately,
it was bad.
Yeah. You guys, we talk about constantly about how you would rack up, 300, 400, 500 yards of offense, and unfortunately the points just weren't coming.
We would turn it over at the wrong time when we're inside the 20. And that's something that these kids, I mean, all these kids are returning starters for the most part, or returning varsity players for the most part, and they were all in that situation last year. And they understood how I don't want to say snake bit we were, but how we killed ourselves in 3 games. I mean, we're about 3 or 4 plays away from being 5-5 and having a shot in the playoffs last year. If we take care of the football against Albuquerque High, against Carlsbad, against Oregon Mountain, I mean, that's how close we were, and you go from 2-8 to 5-5 and in the playoffs. But that tells you how talented this group is. If we do things right, we're successful. And you go to those games, when we do things right, we move the football up and down the field constantly on everybody. So that's the exciting part for us this year going into it. The big part is how do we respond defensively, and I think that was the best showing we've had in a scrimmage since I've been here against Mayfield of just the effort and tackling and being really fine-tuning at that. And that was awesome from Coach Haney and his staff.
And I think the other part about it is, I mean, there's a lot of the other sports, their seasons, you can kind of ease into your season. It's a 10-game schedule, and every game is so important if you guys want to make the playoffs. So there is no, well, okay, we lost that one kind of thing. You guys, it's every week feels like a must-win game.
Absolutely. That's what college football used to be like, too.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of it, and especially when you load your schedule. We got a 5A semifinalist, or we scrimmage a 5A semifinalist. Week 1's a 5A semifinalist. Week 2's the 5A state champion. Week 3's Albuquerque High, who was 5-5 last year. Week 4 is Piedra Vista, who made the playoffs and won a playoff game last year. And then we go right into Oregon Mountain and District. I mean, so there's not just, hey, we can take this week off, we can focus on this, we can kind of recover. Every week's a grind, and every week that game is extremely important for us and our chances and our success going into November.
Well, it gets going on Friday night, 7 o'clock against Deming. And is it, for a coach, I mean, do you kind of like having a home game week 1 or road game week 1? Doesn't matter one way or the other for you?
I would like to have a turf.
Well, I know that, yes.
No, it's it doesn't really matter. It's kind of easier to get on the road first and not have all. You kind of just, that's the part you kind of get to ease into it, and there's less things that you got to deal with as a head coach and game day stuff, and especially with the start of school and all that tying in together, it becomes very hectic, and people are very, I don't want to say demanding, but needing things and wanting answers, and how do I do this and how do I do that? And so everybody gets kind of a week under their belt and gets kind of situated, and then we kind of get a little bit more time to prepare for the Friday night aesthetics of what Tiger Stadium is going to look like, and getting in and getting everybody situated and putting on a good show for everybody. So that part's fun. Road trips are always not fun, and so that's the hard part. But it's exciting, man. This is one of those days that I tell our kids all the time. You've worked every moment of your life to get to this point, from that end of November last year to where we're at now, is to kick it off at 7 o'clock on Friday.
All right, Coach. We'll look forward to it, and we'll see you guys out in Deming on Friday.
I appreciate it, man. Safe travels. Go Tigers.